Have you been eating your sabanich? Today we're watching classic Popeye cartoons with Arab themes to see if they're authentic or orientalist. We're going in chronological order and the first couple ones are tame, but the later ones, oh boy, you wait and see. This is part of my casual Arab slander series where I document anti-Arab depictions in movies. I'll link the Google Sheets archive in the description. Yalla! Popeye the Sailor meets Sindbad the Sailor, 1936. This cartoon starts with a warning sign. Note the spelling in Sindbad with a D. That's how it's spelled in Arabic, Sindbad. But for some reason later on, people started dropping the D in the English translations, so today people know him as Sindbad. The original Sindbad story comes from 1001 Nights. Bluto sings he lives on an island. On Sindbad's first voyage, he lands on an island that turns out to be a whale. Bluto grabs a handful of diamonds. There's diamonds in the second voyage. He sees a giant. Sindbad runs into a giant in his third voyage. It's black-skinned with one eye. Doesn't have two heads like what we see here. He walks up to a giant bird and sings,
On one of my travels, I ran into this. Now there was a thrill I'd be sorry to miss.
Notice he doesn't say the name. I bet it's because it's hard for English speakers to say it. This is a rukh. It's an Arabian mythological bird that shows up in Sindbad's second and fifth voyages. In the intro title card, they spell it out and say rukh. I doubt it looks like a vulture, but that's what they went with here. He sings about how people fear him, and this doesn't match up with Sindbad in the stories. He's an adventurer. He does do one bad thing. He kills a bride in the fourth voyage, but the characterization of him being an awful pirate doesn't really match up. Popeye shows up singing his classic tune. Sindbad gets angry for some reason. He tells the rukh to wreck his ship, but to bring him the woman. Now you could say this is playing into the Arabs are hypersexual stereotype, but let's be fair. He's a macho sailor who lives on an island. His male desires are kicking in, and it's played for a joke because right after this, the rukh hilariously does this.
Bring me the woman.
And it's a classic storyline in these Popeye cartoons. Olive Oil gets captured and Popeye saves her. The rukh captures Olive Oil and Sindbad starts sexually assaulting her. It is so common in old classic cartoons. The bad guy wants to capture the woman to kiss her and who knows what else. I can't fairly say that they're stereotyping Arabs who do this because he looks like an American sailor after all. But like a wet fart, a whiff of Orientalism is still in the air. Sindbad is shooting buckshot at Olive Oil through an instrument that looks like a ney. The ney is a flute-type instrument found in Arab and Irani music. Color me impressed. The fact the American cartoonists even knew about this instrument and drew it here is cool. But hold your camels. Listen to how he's playing it. Yeah, that's Orientalist. And he's not playing like how you would traditionally play a ney. He's using it like he's a snake charmer by making her dance, and that's Orientalist. This snake charmer thing pops up all the time in Orientalist depictions of Arabs, even though it's more stereotypically an Indian street performer practice. This cartoon isn't offensive. It borrows elements from the original Sindbad story, but it's largely echoing sailor and American culture of the 1930s. It's harmless and neither Orientalist or anti-Arab. Popeye the Sailor meets Ali Baba's 40 Thieves, 1937. We open with Bluto swinging his, here we go, thick curved scimitar. This is Orientalist. Arabs traditionally used straight swords, but Orientalists give Arabs curved swords. I talk about this in depth in my The 13th Warrior video, so check it out after this one if you want more details. He has something around his head. It doesn't look like an Arab qitra, just a cloth wrapped around his head that kind of has a turban vibe. It's green, which is different. So maybe we can chalk this up to cartoony simplification. Then there's the blue cape, a cartoon fabrication that doesn't align with Arab clothing. Listen to what he sings. Is he saying Abu Asshole? Turns out he's calling himself Abu Hassan. I thought this was supposed to be Ali Baba. I'm noticing Bluto's looking a little browner than usual. Did they darken him to make him Arab coded? It cuts to a bunch of men with elongated turbans in a cyan color. Yeah, that's made up. Arab turbans don't look like this. They're usually white, shorter, and rounder. I keep bringing up Arabs because Ali Baba and the 40 Thieves is a story from 1001 Nights. Popeye, Olive Oil, and Wimpy are in the desert. They're tired and hungry. Wimpy sees a mirage. a table full of food. This isn't an Orientalist stereotype, but it's such a common trope. When someone's in a desert, they have to see a mirage. I wonder where it comes from and why it's so widespread. There's a random comedic red light and the three go to rest, and what the? Is this the origin of the Jack O pose from Guilty Gear? Probably not, but it reminded me of it. Olive oil collapses. Popeye picks her up and she turns into a camel. Sadly, it's not the right kind. Bactrian camels with 2 humps are native to Eastern Asia, while the dromedary camel, the one with 1 hump, is the type we have in Arabia. It's a common mix-up, especially in cartoons. A handful of commenters from previous videos have chimed in saying this about it. The reason why they have 2 humps is because it reads better on screen in a cartoon, and it's easier to animate in a fun way. I get it, but it's still not authentic. They're rolling into a town and hey, this looks pretty accurate. They had the correct dome styles like found in Arabia, and there's a minaret for a mosque. Popeye demands service at a restaurant table. A turban-wearing man shows up, and this reads like Indian to me. Orientalism mixes and matches all the cultures of the East like it's one, so this doesn't surprise me. He looks at a menu and we see squiggles. Now I could say it's making fun of the Arabic language, but it's just a funny gag showing what Americans think of when they see Arabic.
This writing's rodent rotten if you happen to ask me.
Whoa, why the diss? Saying Arabic is rotten? Uncalled for. The waiter folds the menu and speaks gibberish Arabic. He keeps doing the kh sounds. The kh sound is found in Arabic, but it's a common thing to hear when Jewish people are imitating Arabic. They throw in a ton of kh sounds for h sounds. Why? Because Hebrew does that. One example, in Arabic it's called hummus. In Hebrew, it's called hummus. So when they do Arabic, they think, oh, it's the same. So they mix it all up and it comes off as insensitive. The creators of Popeye, Max and Dave Fleischer, were Polish Jewish immigrants to America. Okay, why are they serving bacon in Arabia? Pork is forbidden to consume in Islam and is banned in many Arab countries. The fact the restaurant is serving it here is ahistorical, but I get it. It's for an American audience and they know that's what's for breakfast. Whoa, pink dishtasha jump scare. I have never seen a dishtasha this color. The dishtasha, as we call it in Kuwait, is the traditional robe of Arab men. It's usually white, black, gray, or dark blue. Those are the common colors, but there are variations throughout Arabia. But pink? That's a cartoon invention. It reminds me of Goofy's unique red-colored dishtasha from Donald Duck Crazy with the Heat. There's horses crossing a rocky bridge and listen to them. What does this remind you of? Native American war cries as depicted in Western movies. This same thing happened in my The Mummy review. There's Arab riders on horses and they add in post chanting and hollering and even the zagruda. But only women do the zagruda. They add these sound effects in because it is what's familiar to Americans. And it is definitely not an Arab thing. P is circling Popeye and Popeye says this.
Take me home for $1.98.
Good old classic objectifying women. Just cause Bluto's looking at Popeye, he starts acting like a woman and offers himself up for prostitution. Not funny then, not funny today. Popeye says Pete's sword is bent and straightens it out for him. It's funny because of the stereotype of curved swords in Arabs. Even Popeye knows it's BS and straightens it out for him to set the record straight. He runs out and finds a double hump camel. You all know it's wrong. Bluto arrives at a wall, puts his hand out and says, "Open sesame." This phrase comes from the original story and is an example of an Arab storytelling element that exists in popular culture that isn't negative. But why open sesame? According to the Encyclopedia of Islam, sesame presses are regarded by the Arabs as the haunts of spirits. The English word sesame and the Arabic word simsim derive ultimately from the ancient Egyptian semsemt. Very likely, sesame oil was used in the Arab world to ease locks. The sesame plant was employed in Babylonian incantations to undo spells. An extremely sinister divinatory procedure involving sesame oil is described in the medieval Arabic sorcerer's manual, Gayat al-Hakim. The cartoon continues with misogyny. The thieves use olive oil to do their laundry because she's a woman. Listen to what the guys are saying here.
Mashi. Shashi.
Mashi is an Arabic word that means walking, but it's used in everyday lingo to mean okay. Did they know this? Maybe, and they were riffing on it with the different versions. Mashi, Yashi, Shashi. Popeye pulls out his spinach and says,
Open sesame.
That's a common mishearing of the phrase open sesame. Many people believe it's open sesame. Makes sense given how close it sounds to the original. The last shot shows him enslaving the men to pull his treasure cart. It's weird because Popeye's supposed to be a hero. Turning Arabs into slaves looks bad, but I get it. It's supposed to be a silly, fun ending. This one is fun. It had its faults and it relies on a handful of Orientalist stereotypes, but only a few are offensive. Aladdin and His Wonderful Lamp, 1939. We've got a market scene and right away they play an Orientalist sounding flute for the music. We see a fellow smoking shisha. Shisha is flavored tobacco that you smoke through a water pipe. I think it is nasty. What catches my eye are the large gold earrings. This is communicating Indian to me, not Arab. Popeye is in full Arab drip. Look at him wearing a fez. That's a hat worn by men in North African countries. We have the stereotypical baggy pants and Arabian vest. You know, so many Orientalist depictions have this type of vest, and I don't know where it originates from. If you know, tell us in the comments. As a Kuwaiti, we don't wear vests like this, so it could possibly be a North African or Levant region thing. Finally, check out the pointy shoes. That's not Arab. It's more Indian. They're called mojaris, but Orientalist depictions of Arabs love giving characters pointy shoes. A guard says, "Make way for the princess." This is like Aladdin 92. In the original story, there's a part where Aladdin makes a grand entrance. Whoa, holy racist depiction, Batman. These characters have black skin and big puffy red lips. This type of depiction comes from blackface. They were thinking, these people are slaves, so we'll put blackface on them. Yikes. There are slaves in the original Aladdin story, 40 black slaves and 40 white slaves. The people who made this cartoon chose to go with the black slaves and use these racist blackface depictions. It is messed up. Olive Oyl is wearing pointy shoes and a see-through veil. It is so common to see see-through veils in Orientalist depictions. It is all over Aladdin 92, and recently I saw it in The Mummy 1999. The see-through veil is a symbol of exoticism, sexualizing the covered woman. Popeye gets love at first sight. This happens in the original story. Aladdin falls for Princess Badr al-Budur the moment he sees her. The bad guy appears, and he's got stereotypical Orientalist bad guy vibes. Big nose, a long thin beard like Jafar from Aladdin 92 and the magician in Aladdin 1982. It is the common Orientalist bad guy Arab look. Very unoriginal. What sticks out is the black turban. My family is Shi'i. The black turban is only worn by a Sayyid. These are people who claim to be a direct descendant of the Prophet Muhammad. It is weird to see here, but the American cartoonists likely thought, whatever, he's a bad guy, dress him up in black and red. That's the stereotypical bad guy colors. This cartoon came out in 1939 at the peak of Nazism. Their colors were black and red, so I think there could be a connection, or maybe I'm pulling out of my lumpy butt. He tricks Popeye into getting the lamp and says it's for the princess. Funnily enough, in the original story, it's never stated why the magician chooses Aladdin. The cave is full of treasures. Aladdin grabs a jewel from the tree. In the original story, the magician says the only thing he can touch is the jewels from the tree. I think it's a reference, though they don't really say anything about it. In every Aladdin adaptation I've seen, the magician and Aladdin fight about handing over the lamp before leaving the cave. Here, he walks out and the magician wallops him with a club after he hands over the lamp. Out pops a blue genie. Oh, okay, this is the first time I see a blue colored genie aside from Aladdin 92. Could Disney have been inspired by this to make the genie in Aladdin 92 blue? Or is it just a common color, so it's a coincidence? They give the genie a stereotypical German Bavarian accent for some reason.
I am the slave of the land. I come from the nowhere, I go to the no place, and here I am.
Popeye wishes to be a wealthy prince. This happens in Aladdin 92, but in the original story, Aladdin doesn't ask to be turned into a prince. Disney. Did you watch this and were stealing somebody's homework? Now Popeye is wearing a green turban and has a feather in it. That's called a kalgi. Decorating a turban with a feather is more of a Turkish or Indian tradition. You don't see it in historical Arab cultures. Popeye is handing out gold pieces to the crowd. The same thing happens in the original story, but Aladdin has his slaves do it. Hey, at least the woman is wearing a hijab. In pre-1900s Arabia, women typically veiled themselves in public. Look at the coffee cup here. This is a European style cup. An Arab coffee cup looks like this. Just a tiny little historical inaccuracy. Popeye wishes for oils and jewels for the princess, and wow, this is the most racist depiction of a slave yet. He's hunched over and has really large exaggerated lips. Oof. And then to make it super clear that this is a racist depiction, listen to his voice.
Presents from Aladdin for the princess. Salami, salami, bologna.
Olive Oil drops a handkerchief from the balcony. That's a European historical and romantic tradition. Today, the ladies use eggplant emojis, but back in the day in Europe, this is how women would flirt with men. With the muscles of his booty alone, Popeye pops someone a can of spinach and eats it to save the princess. The magician wishes for guards and their European style. Lots of thick steel armor. Why would an Arabian magician summon European guards? Who knows? Another inaccuracy, he summons a dragon. I don't typically associate dragons with Arabian folklore. Some interpreters of the Arabian Nights think of giant serpents like the Felek as a dragon, but it's debatable. The magician and Popeye fight, and of course, the magician has a curved sword. This is orientalist. Arabs historically used straight swords. Popeye saves Olive Oil. The genie calls Popeye a sport. He calls Olive Oil toots. Toots is an old slang term for a woman from the early 20th century. Makes me think of old gangster movies from the 30s and 40s. It's pretty interesting what slang terms have survived the ages. The other day I watched Little Caesar, a gangster movie from the 1930s, and the characters keep saying gat for gun.
Leave your gat home on the piano the next job you pull.
We still use that term today. People say gat for gun, but nobody says toots for women anymore. The cartoon ends with the two on a bed, ready to get it on. At least it looks mutual because Olive Oil is writing the story inside the cartoon. But this cartoon was written by men, so keep that in mind. This Popeye classic has many inaccuracies and racist depictions, but they do reference the original Aladdin story a number of times. It's more adventurous compared to other Popeye cartoons. There's a lot of scene changes, and that makes it fun. There's tons of creativity, but sadly, it's too orientalist for my taste. A wolf in Sheikh's clothing, 1948. We see the title screen and right away we get a pyramid, a palm tree, and a crescent moon with a star in it. The former are classic Orientalist images, like every desert has a pyramid. The latter is a symbol of Islam. It's on the flag of Turkey, Pakistan, and Algeria, to name a few, all Muslim majority countries. Popeye and Olive Oil are riding a camel in the desert. They reach a filling station and there's two Arabs. They look stereotypical with long, thin mustaches. You often see these types of depictions in Orientalist media. One is wearing a tiny fez, and the other is wearing what looks like a qitra and a gal, the traditional Arab headdress of men from the Arabian Peninsula. I like how they draw the front of it wavy. We Arabs stylize the front like this, and it's often missed in Western media. This wavy style is called mirzab. The music picks up here, and it's super Orientalist sounding. Popeye walks into a washroom, but it turns out to be an exquisite bathhouse on the inside. Bathhouses are a part of ancient Arabian culture, but it's not really a thing nowadays. Yo, listen to WAP Olive Oil here.
I wish I could meet a big, strong sheik who'd kiss me to pieces and leave me so weak.
It's surprising to see a woman character say something like this in a cartoon from the 40s. But remember the framing here. This cartoon was written by men. It's a fantasy to have a woman say this. And it's in a comedic cartoon, so you're supposed to laugh at it. The idea of a woman freely expressing her sexual desires is seen as a joke. She says sheik. That's how Westerners say the word, likely because the kh sound can be tough. In Arabic, it's pronounced sheikh. Sheikh is an honorific title for an elder. It's also a respectful title for a tribal chief, a prominent Islamic scholar, or a royal family member. For example, the emir of my country, Kuwait, is Sheikh Mish'al. I wouldn't just say his first name alone. That's disrespectful. I would always say Sheikh Mish'al. This is the respectful thing to do. This Arab guy's mustache starts twirling. It's playing into an Orientalist stereotype, the hypersexual Arab male. Another stereotype is Arab men lusting over Western women. I see this trope all the time in Western media, especially in 80s and 90s movies. The Sheikh builds a shack that says, "One kiss, one buck." Can we talk about this? I see kissing booths often in Western movies, usually at high school fairs. Wait, That's ick now that I think about it. An attractive young girl sets up a booth where men can pay for a kiss? Is this even a real thing, or is it made up for movies? What's stopping a 45-year-old math teacher from paying $1 to kiss a 16-year-old? Maybe that's how hardcore Zionist Jerry Seinfeld met his 17-year-old high school attending girlfriend when he was 38. 1738. The smaller guy reappears and plays a pungi. This instrument is associated with snake charming. The music sounds like stereotypical snake charming music. This is an Indian street performer thing that's constantly thrown onto Arabs in Orientalist depictions. Whoa, the Arab has a French accent?
My desert flower, you sand me.
I was not expecting that. It is so common for Westerners to give Arabs a Russian accent.
It is a pleasure to do business with you, Mr. Snyder.
But here they gave him a French one because he's supposed to be quote unquote romantic, and also they could be in a French speaking Arab land. But that doesn't make sense because we saw pyramids. They would likely be in Egypt, right? I need to stop thinking about this so hard because I know that they did not. This is unique. You never see an Arab portrayed as the romantic type. Well, maybe except for Omar Sharif. But is it really an Arab depiction? It feels more like a French romantic person with an Arab skin. And remember, it's all a ruse. The Arab is trying to deceive Olive Oil. The Sheikh takes Olive Oil to a stereotypical American changing tent from the 1940s. This is not Arab in the slightest, and it reminds me of the beach scene from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Olive Oil name drops Cleopatra, because of course she does. They're in Arabia, Cleopatra. Popeye calls the Sheikh,
You fix it, dirty desert rat.
Is it because he's Arab or because he's angry at him? Likely a bit of both. Then he calls him a phony pharaoh because that's all he can relate it to, ancient Egyptians. Even though Arabs and ancient Egyptians are different ethnicity, it comes off as stupid to me. It is mandatory that Arab men have curved swords in Orientalist media. Arabs don't use curved swords, they use straight swords. The Sheikh brings out a giant vulture, possibly a reference to a rukh from Sindbad in 1001 Nights. The Sheikh launches Popeye from a cannon. Olive Oil says, let go of that mummy. Popeye flies through the air and of course, into the Sphinx. The Sphinx is another extremely common Orientalist stereotype. Edward Said mentions it in his book Orientalism. He sees a spinach can with hieroglyphics on it and they transform into the word spinach. That's cute. Popeye wallops the Sheikh and saves Olive Oil. Then there's one last Orientalist thing in this cartoon. They ride away on a magic flying carpet. The magic flying carpet is uniquely Orientalist because there aren't any flying magic carpets in Arabian Nights. That's where they get the magic carpet thing from. In the story of Prince Ahmed and the fairy Parabanu, the magic carpet teleports people. It does not fly. Egypt Us, 1960. Before we even see one thing, the cartoon assaults us with a gong sound effect. That's Asian, not Arab. Then look at the font on Africa. It looks like that stereotypical Asian restaurant font that has racist roots. And they even add Asian gates onto it. Oh my goodness, listen to the music.
I'm telling you, Olive.
This is super Orientalist of the Asian variety, not Arab. Hey, this cartoon came out in the 60s. Why is it worse than the earlier ones? Are we supposed to learn and get less racist as time goes on? We see the Sphinx, because of course, but this cartoon is set in Egypt, so I'll let it pass. Olive Oil says the ocean can't be far. What? The Mediterranean Sea is 160 kilometers from the Sphinx. That's at least a 2-hour drive. Has she been sniffing too much olive oil? A person pops out from a mummy coffin. What in the living hummus am I looking at? This is a concoction that doesn't align with any Arab clothing I've seen. They speak in a gibberish language and people walk by. They remind me of stereotypes of Amazonian people. The Amazonian theme continues. They have Olive Oil elevated sitting in a chair and they're bowing to her. Did they forget this episode is set in Egypt? Popeye's talking to the priest. The priest says, doesn't everybody sacrifice their high priestess? Popeye's response is to punch him in the face. Wow. It's funny because it's an allegory to Western imperialism. Invade a land and because their practices don't align with yours, kill them. I know it's extreme because we're talking about a human sacrifice, but Popeye doesn't even try to talk the whole thing out. The cartoon ends with Popeye saving olive oil. This is the worst one so far. It throws out a ton of racist depictions and doesn't feel like a Popeye cartoon at all. Popeye getting ready to punch someone over a misunderstanding is the opposite of his character. He's supposed to be a good role model. Here he feels like a colonialist bad guy. It's bad. Insultin the Sultan, 1960. Jeez, we start off with Popeye being a misogynist.
You women are as stubborn as a mule.
Olive Oil rightfully kicks his sailor booty out. Popeye asks for a one-way ticket to Algiers, the capital of Algeria. Look at this palace. This is something you'd stereotypically see in the Arabian Peninsula. Algerian architecture, especially in the capital Algiers, is European looking because of French colonialism. But to the Western animators, they're like, whatever, it's Arabia. It's all desert and grand palaces. We get two weird Orientalist, super stereotypical looking Arabs. And the guy on the right says,
how about this beauty for your 75th wife, O most exalted one?
what the falafel? The stereotype is, Arab men have multiple wives because they're hypersexual and objectify women. Disgusting. And that's the first thing an Arab character says. Of course, the photo is a blonde hair-colored woman bikini model, playing into the Arab men want to steal Western women trope. But he sees olive oil and that's more his style. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder. As the guy on the left is walking out, he's bowing. Arabs don't do this. It's super Orientalist. Then we see olive oil on a flying magic carpet. Bingo bongo, baby. Throw all the Orientalist junk into this cartoon. Woo! A Bedouin looking character is speaking in offensive gibberish Arabic. The Sultan calls guards and because it's a legal obligation, they all have curved swords. Then Popeye steals a magic flying carpet to get olive oil to safety. This one is pretty bad when it comes to Orientalist depictions. Probably my least favorite. Aladdin's Lamp, 1961. I watched this entire one and it isn't set in Arabia. It uses Aladdin's magic lamp as a plot device. The genie is portrayed as a butler and that's funny, plus unique. But really there's nothing else to talk about with this one.